What's going on, y'all? It's the Kid J Nolan here, and I want to talk to y'all today about MDRCs. I made a reference to this in my last video talking about Issa Rae and her experience dealing with the music business, but I did not expound on exactly what MDRCs are. So let's get right into it. Minimum Delivery Release Commitment. Okay, so when you sign with a publisher, they hand you a contract. You sign onto it, maybe you enter it for, 5 years, and you have to produce a minimum of X amount of records, and they have to come out in order for you to be eligible for a new advance. Now, in a lot of cases, producers and songwriters feel like, oh yeah, that's no problem. They see that minimum number of records. You look at your proficiency as a creator and you say, oh, I could produce this in no time. I'll probably be able to fulfill this commitment before the time is even up, right? Before the term is over. Well, the tough part about that is you start playing the percentage game. You start playing the game of, let's say you're a producer or a songwriter, you go and you get in the studio with all these talented artists and y'all are cooking up music, but let's say this artist got shelved, their album never dropped. You produced 4 or 5 songs on a project. You got in the studio, you wrote 5 songs for this artist, or co-wrote 5 songs for this artist, and their album is still getting pushed back from the label, right? So now all these songs that you got floating around that you felt would have been perfect to count towards your commitment, they not coming out. So now you're stagnated, right? Not only do you have to worry about that, but you also have to worry about the fact that most times in today's music creation process, you're not gonna be the 100% writer or producer on there. So now you got to start getting into the actual percentages of how things get broken down. So let's say in a simple world, you get in the studio, it's you and an artist, and y'all co-write the song together and you co-produce it. Let's just say it's a perfect world. You're a writer and a producer. All right? Well, y'all split that 50-50. So that 50% that you got is 50% of one song. So still, even though you produced and wrote on that song, that's not one full record that gets counted towards your commitment. You have a half of a song. And now you gotta figure out how to go get the other half of a song. So maybe you go co-write 25% of another record with somebody else. Now you got 75% of a song. Maybe you write 10% of another song. Now you start to see that it's not so easy. You know what I mean? You may have to produce 30 records or something. I may have to actually be a part of 100 records or 200 records before I actually get a full 30 songs. So now, what would have taken you 5 years to meet that minimum delivery release commitment, now it done took you 8 years, 10 years, you know what I mean? Or in Hit Boy's case, 14 years, right? Another thing you have to consider is that in a lot of publishing contracts, they only count the records that get released commercially. So now, if you're in the studio with independent artists that are not on a major label, they also may not count those records at all. They have to be released by major labels. So now your network comes into question. You know what I'm saying? You can't just go in the studio and produce a record or write a record for your homie that's very talented, because it's not gonna count towards your actual publishing commitment, right? So now you're doing songs for basically no reason, but that's where they get you, because artists and producers and songwriters that come into these types of deals, they don't know what's actually in the paperwork. It's going way over your head. So you say, oh yeah, it's no problem, boom, boom, sign your name on it, and they got you. And I'm not saying that they're evil for doing it, but I'm saying this act is actually evil, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people that have been caught up in publishing deals for many, many years because of this clause. I want to give a shout out to Tiffany Red of the 100 Percenters, because she's someone that's actively working on getting these MDRCs changed and removed from songwriters and producers' contracts with publishing companies. There are companies out there, I think Sony ATV or Sony Music Publishing, as they just changed their name back to the original name. They're actually actively working on cleaning the slate for people that were stuck in those MDRCs. But unfortunately, there's still a lot of companies out there that are not. One of those people is Polo the Don. I showed y'all the fact that Hit Boy is trying to get out of, well, it took Hit Boy 14 years to get out of his commitment with Hit Boy. Tiffany Red has actually been in the same situation with Polo as well. And I know some of y'all talented artists, producers, songwriters out there, you're probably getting approached by some of these big publishing companies and they trying to sign you on, and they may come to you with $25,000, $50,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? And for somebody that holds a regular job, that little bit of money up front is gonna sound very good and enticing. But if it has an MDRC in it, you might be in for the fight of your life, all right? So make sure y'all paying attention to this. Make sure you send this video out to somebody that may need it. And for those of y'all that might already be locked into publishing deals and things like that, if you're not familiar with the workings of your contract, I suggest that you look at it again, all right? Much love and respect. Peace.